My name is Niracha Techakunavud, Executive Vice President of Industries Go-to-Market here at Salesforce. I am lucky enough to have the opportunity to work with and hear from customers every day about how they are digitally transforming in today's world across a number of industries, including consumer goods. So today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Dan Moisen, the Chief Commercial Officer of PepsiCo Latin America, to share his vision on how PepsiCo is digitally transforming to deliver for their customers. Now, in the LATAM unit at Pepsi, there are over 70,000 employees covering over 34 developing and emerging markets and 12 bottlers. So if that doesn't sound like a huge operation, they also accounted for 7.6 billion in revenue in 2019, over 10% of PepsiCo globally. So welcome, Dan. Thanks so much for joining us. Really excited to have this conversation today.
Thanks so much, Niracha. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at PepsiCo.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I've been at PepsiCo about 15 years. Started out in marketing and sales for about 8 years. And for the last 7 years, I've been in Latin America, primarily in GM roles. And then most recently, for the last year and a half, I've been leading the commercial group as the Chief Commercial Officer and helping us with our transformation that we're excited to talk to you about today.
So what is your vision for this commercial LATAM business?
Yeah, at PepsiCo, we are all about trying to bring more smiles to consumers with every sip and with every bite. And that really means we have to know our consumers and our customers at a deeper level. And as we've started going through this, we've realized that we needed to transform our entire end-to-end system to be able to really understand what each and every individual wanted. In order to do that, we needed to redo our entire order-taking system, our entire way that we manage our Salesforce, the entire interaction that we have with our customers, and the interaction that we have with our consumers, and being able to understand what they're saying, how we respond to their needs, and how we meet those needs better.
So true. Knowing your customers, your consumers more deeply is just the heart of success across all industries, but especially in consumer goods. So has any of that changed since COVID? Is something accelerated? How have you been faring in today's world?
Well, it's quite interesting because COVID really accelerated a lot of the trends that were already there. We've seen things like e-commerce skyrocketing. Quite frankly, our transformation, a big part of that has been in how we partner with Salesforce in launching a new entire system we call Conectados that enables our frontline Salesforce to interact with the customers. Now, so far, I believe we've got about 25,000 25,000 route sales representatives armed with this tool. And so making that transformation has been a function of educating people on how to use the tools, developing the tools together with Salesforce, developing the specific functionalities we need, and then scaling it broadly and quickly across all of Latin America. We serve over 40 different countries, and each country has different nuances, but there's cores of the way we do business that we want to maintain. And so part of our strategy has been partnering with Salesforce to try and maintain about 70% of what we do consistent and 30% really customizing for the needs of a particular market. That's only accelerated during COVID. Our transformation, actually, we didn't lose any time at all in the transformation. Today marks a critical juncture where we finally finished the country of Mexico deploying the first round of Conectados together with Salesforce, and we're excited to see what comes next.
Well, I think it's phenomenal that you've been able to stay on track given all the challenges going on in the world today, and 25,000, people that, it just shows that you're managing to an incredible amount of scale. So then what are your biggest challenges that you're seeing right now?
Yeah, so I would say there's some challenges that are COVID related. There's other challenges that are not. And I'll start with the ones that aren't, because that's really the core of where we've tried to attack the problem. Ultimately, because PepsiCo grew up over the years through various different locally relevant initiatives, our systems were never built to talk to each other across broad-based countries, across a broad set of consumer needs. And so one of the things that we've been trying to do with this is bring a common platform on top of which we can launch advantage capabilities and scale them quickly. We'd love to develop it once, scale it quickly across everything, but that couldn't happen with the old systems because nothing was connected. There was many legacy systems and nothing was talking to each other. And Salesforce has really helped us partner in creating a common architecture that we can build on top of, launch these capabilities and scale them quickly. As we talk about COVID, that has only accelerated because the need to understand who your consumers are, who your customers are, and scale things rapidly has only accelerated. We saw, for instance, in the COVID environment, we wanted to be able to take orders from customers at a very granular level without physically visiting those stores in certain cases. Physical visits, just to put it in context, we visit stores once a week across all of Latin America, and the number of stores per capita compared to the US is 20 times in Latin America what it is in the United States. So there are a large number of visits that we do every week, 3 million customers that are all small, that we're all visiting every week. And we need to be able to take those orders and communicate with them in an environment where there may be travel restrictions, where you may not be able to go out during curfews. And in order to do that, we partnered with Salesforce to deploy order taking functionality, integrating WhatsApp, which is very prevalent in Latin America, with the Salesforce system, be able to communicate directly with our customers, take the orders, and then send those orders out as needed. So that's an example of how we've leveraged what we were already doing with Salesforce, but accelerated certain aspects of it that became necessary when mobility was no longer an option. Actually, if you look at the mobility index for Latin America, which I look at every week, we were down almost 50% at one point in terms of mobility, and that stayed much longer than it did in other areas. So that has been a crucial tool to be able to continue to accelerate the business.
Well, I'm thrilled to hear that technology, including Salesforce, has really helped deal with some of the challenges that you're seeing. So now, prior to this role, you ran Central America and the Caribbean commercial ops. So how did your needs, expectations around technology differ, if they differed between these two roles?
Yeah, no. So number one, I'd say the role is fundamentally different. So when I was in Central America and the Caribbean, I was the general manager there. So that was very much an operational role. How do we develop the markets? How do we build out the markets? Now I'm thinking about the future of PepsiCo for all Latin America. For all Latin America, how do we build the capabilities that we need that are going to last for the next 5 to 6 years? So I would say the needs are one and the same. My role in approaching this is quite different because now I'm thinking about what's the future of PepsiCo and how can we deploy that to all of these markets. I had a perspective that was based on the needs of Central America and the Caribbean. Now I'm coupling that with the needs of Mexico, the needs of Brazil, the needs in Argentina, and how do we get that scale of having commonality in our platform across all of these locations, but then doing the localizations that are absolutely necessary, but minimized, because ideally I'd have as few localizations as possible so that I can scale new capabilities more broadly. So that's been kind of the trade-off is I want something that's very unique and meeting the needs of my specific customers in every market, but I also want a commonality so I can scale things quickly. Salesforce has been a great partner in that because it's highly configurable.
So I love that you mentioned the tension or trade-off between scale and local needs. So how can data help that? How can data be used to help you drive that business growth?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, we're talking about people. These are not robots. These aren't a group of people that are all the same. Every individual is different and unique. They've got different passions. They've got different things that motivate them. And so understanding what that is in a manner that's at scale is one of our fundamental drives, one of our fundamental needs, both from a consumption perspective as well as from a media habits perspective. And we've leveraged partnerships through Salesforce on both the marketing aspect as well as the sales aspect to be able to have the intelligence to put with our route sales representatives. So imagine you've got 25,000 route sales representatives making calls every day. We're visiting 3 million stores a week. If we can tell them what to focus on in a particular store to meet a particular set of consumer needs at a particular time, the growth opportunities out of that are exponential. And that's a function of having good data, real time, combining it with advanced analytics, processing it, and then giving actionable, customized instructions to that particular route sales representative. That's what we're working on right now. We're building the capability in phases, and that's another big advantage, I would say, of the Salesforce platform, is we've been able to go fully agile. We've been able to release capabilities in parts, get feedback from our customers, get feedback from the people using the tools, adapt them quickly, upgrade them, and then push out more and more upgrades. We've gone through, I believe it's 9 product increments since we first launched this product. I think it was about 2 years ago was the first time in the first country. Since then, we've scaled it across all of the countries for one particular module of go-to-market, and we're developing additional modules for different systems of go-to-market so that ultimately we can be serving the market in the way that they need best.
So I love this whole story of scale. You mentioned 3 million store visits in a week. Now, I was born in Bangkok. I spent most of my childhood in developing countries in Southeast Asia. So I know about the importance of those mom and pop stores and, how they're just a bastion of the local community. So I think you guys are doing a lot to support the mom and pops in Latin America. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So number one, we are constantly trying to provide the best service possible. And so that means listening to our customers, responding to their needs. We actually have a multi-manufacturer initiative going on right now to try and help some of the smaller stores that have been in distress because it's been a very tough situation for their cash flow. So we're constantly trying to do that. But also, one big thing you can do to help a small mom and pop is be able to take the analytics that some of the bigger stores have and are part of their everyday operations and deliver the same kind of insights at a local level. And so that's our vision. Our vision is to be able to take the insights and the analytics around all of this data we're collecting at a very local level, marry it with the information that we know about the consumers that are in those same locations, and at a very granular level, help the store owners know what are the right products I need to be selling in the right configuration, in the right way, at the right time, what's the optimal location in store, what's the optimal price, what's the optimal communication with consumers, and then help them drive that conversion. Ultimately, if you can imagine 20 times the number of stores per capita versus the US, people are going to stores and that's their store. That's the store they grew up with. That's the store that's down the street. They go there every week. They know that store. Sometimes there's 5 stores on the same block, all of which serving a different need. If we had the same assortment in every one of those stores, we'd be missing the mark. But Salesforce is helping us gather the data. We're analyzing that, and then we're pushing back the recommendations at a local level as to what's needed in each one of those to connect with the consumers and the shoppers that are in those particular stores.
I love that idea of the democratization of data and the availability. So that's wonderful. So, given all this, what's next for you here?
Well, I think we're into our journey with Salesforce. We've had tremendous success, but that was just stage one. Stage one was getting a tool into the hands of our route sales representatives that could be a platform to deliver this. Now it's kind of a blue ocean opportunity where we can think about what are the things that we want to develop and scale quickly. We've got the platform, and as we try things, as we test things, we can do very fast tests, learn, adapt, and then scale rapidly as we find winners. So really, we're going to go into innovation mode. How do we innovate to make the store experience better for consumers and shoppers? How do we innovate to make the selling experience better for the route sales representative? How do we innovate for the customer so that they're getting the most out of everything that's in their store? That's really the next frontier for us, and this is a great platform to be able to do that on.
I love your next frontier. I think it's an amazing vision. And one of the many themes that really resonated to me is the need to be more agile, really now more than ever, and adapt to serve both your customers and your consumers. And how you're tackling that digital transformation in a $7.6 billion business in LATAM. That's pretty incredible. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Our journey earlier this year began with the introduction of Work.com, which includes solutions to help address new challenges that many people around the globe are really experiencing in the wake of COVID-19. Many of these solutions are truly helping communities to manage and scale important public health programs. These programs look like contact tracing or emergency response management. And today and together, we're still facing the impacts of COVID-19 and this crisis head on. At last glance, for example, according to the WHO, there are close to 190 vaccines in development around the world, with more than 24 in human trials. When trusted vaccines are ready, the world is going to need to execute a massive vaccination campaign, and managing this at unprecedented scale will be nothing short of challenging. At Salesforce, building on Work.com, which has already been deployed by public sector organizations and private sector companies around the world to help make workplaces and communities safe, Work.com for vaccines will help governments more efficiently manage programs for vaccination at scale. And with this, our customers can now design, build, integrate, and manage their vaccine programs end-to-end with a platform that is both trusted and is flexible. And with Work.com, the core capabilities that support vaccine management, like Command Center, inventory management and appointment scheduling, vaccine administration, and vaccine outcome monitoring already exist today. So today, with that, we're excited to give you a glimpse of this solution. And I'd like to take a moment and turn it over to Adelson Jardim, Vice President of Public Sector Solutions at Salesforce, who will show us more. Adelson, take it away.
Thank you. I'm really honored to be a part of this launch and be here with you and introduce Work.com for vaccines to our customers. So you said it really nicely and really dove into the heart of the challenge here, which is how do we help our customers extend and complement the vaccination programs and systems they have in place today, and how do we build and really provide the maximum architecture to support that. So with Work.com for vaccines, we began with how do you envision the types of data problems customers are going to have to solve for, the demographics around the occupational aspects, taking the CDC guidance, and being able to predict as a public health organization how to project those numbers into availability, supply, and distribution. And then ultimately, we need to think about how best to deliver for these customers and residents, the communities, information that's timely, that's informative, that gives them visibility into when vaccines are available and where they can obtain these vaccines. But just as importantly, what's their eligibility for the vaccines and how do they determine how best to receive them? And from there, we need to think about holistically what information is relevant and helpful for administrators to be able to provide the vaccines to residents and communities, and being able to pick schedules that are appropriate and flexible for communities, but also be able to stand up a mass vaccination campaign that requires multiple sites and locations to do this. And one of the things we know as these vaccines are going through development is that many of these might require multiple doses. So that kind of information, in addition to the ability to track and personalize the journeys for residents is going to be very important. So collecting all of this information and these best practices was part of how we focused on how public health organizations can deliver that information as quickly as possible. So as you can see, as we go through the screen and the flows here, we take users through the journey, whether they're the administrators of the vaccine or the community member who's trying to obtain that vaccination, and being able to determine how best to go about getting themselves immunized and vaccinated. Now, all of this is important at that individual level, but then we need to think about what data points and what signals do we need to monitor from the data. Things like the facility readiness with these sites. Do we have enough inventory and supply in each location? Do we have enough healthcare workers and staff to support those? And then ultimately, as we go through that journey of analytics, everything from vaccination outcomes and monitoring for those, in addition to levels and delivery for these different vaccines. And when we think about this, it's on a global level. It's not just about the community and the individual, but how do we help and support on a global level the response to this pandemic? So with that, lots more to cover, lots of assets available to support this discussion and dialogue. But again, Kristen, thank you for the opportunity, and back over to you.
Thank you for that, Adelson. That was a fantastic overview. And I wonder if you can help break it down a little bit further for the audience, particularly organizations that might already have a vaccine management process in place today.
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. And I think you addressed it really well earlier. Many of these organizations that we're working with already have some systems in place to address this. What's really important to understand is the scale of what we're facing here with the global pandemic. And you touched upon the multiple vaccine manufacturers, et cetera. We anticipate that there'll be limited supply to start with, and these public health organizations have to consider how best to prepare for that and to really classify how they would go about projecting the distribution, the administration, et cetera, that I showed in that very brief demo there. But that level of prioritization, planning, and preparation is really what's going to help us manage at the scale and maximize the public health impact of these campaigns.
Sure. First Interstate Bank, we're a $16 billion community bank that's headquartered in Billings, Montana. We're a full service bank, so everything from retail, commercial to wealth management. And as we are a publicly traded institution and we are talking about roadmap and future state, we did also include our safe harbor and our Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you, Renee. You know, it's interesting. I find your story very interesting because I think you took a different path than most of our customers do with Salesforce. Could you share your digital first implementation strategy with everyone?
Sure. As an executive team, we're really focused on keeping First Interstate relevant to our clients. And our chief investment officer joined us midway through 2018. And I think that first week, he must have had at least 3 different business units leaders come in and ask him to sign off on system solution just for their division. And if we were really going to use the client experience as our North Star, we decided to pause everything. And we took a step back and really reflected on some of our focus group information and client surveys that we received. And our clients resoundingly and our prospects are seeking this effortless experience. And what we realized is over time, we had really created this plug and play, siloed, multiple solution approach to our business, and we didn't want to do that anymore. And you're right, we're not using CRM in our vocabulary, and rather what we wanted was a partner that could help us create what we were calling a client ecosystem. And when we searched, we found that Salesforce could help us. So we really leveraged the financial services platform as that client ecosystem for us. And we were wanting to find a solution that would allow us to create a consistent effortless, seamless experience across all of our channels, and something that we could maintain over time and add feature functionalities to it.
That's awesome, Renee. You know, I know you implemented the beginning of last year, so I'm curious to understand just your Salesforce journey, but also how did adopting this digital first strategy early in 2019 really help you navigate the COVID pandemic?
So we signed with Salesforce in October of 2018. And in January of 2019, we kicked off our agile process to look at solutions for our mortgage, consumer, and small business credit card. And we were able to successfully launch in each of those areas in 2019. And we were doing iterative improvements, you know, in 2020, and then the global pandemic hit. And when the PPP program presented itself, we were able to pivot really quickly. And we were able to do so because we leveraged the existing workflow and process improvements that we had through Salesforce Financial Services Cloud. So we used that as the interface to get to our clients more quickly. We created a fillable document for our clients and then also implemented robotic process automation, as long as we could, to really get that speed to market. And because of that, we were able to approve $1.2 billion in small business loans for our clients across our 6 states.
That is a great success, and one that we've actually heard multiple customers tell us, and really warms our heart that our platform was able to really help sense and respond during the early beginnings of the pandemic. So, you know, I'm curious, how has Salesforce strategy really kind of leveled the playing field between you and other competitors, maybe especially kind of the larger ones?
Well, I don't know. You know, we're a regional bank, and we don't have the spend that large financial institutions do. But I think it's leveled the playing field just around the democratization of data. We have made it less complex to find out information about our clients, our speed to market, our speed to pivot, just using PPP as an example, was really because of all the working that we did early with Salesforce. And I think where it's helped us is actually with our employees. You know, for them to see what we could accomplish. We had some naysayers along the way, people that had been used to doing things a certain way and didn't believe that our aspirational goals would really come true. And so they've seen what's possible. And we did all of that with PPP in a work from home environment. So it's actually created more of an innovative approach to how we do business. I think our teams are more confident and comfortable in the agile process. We have people asking more questions. For us, I think we got in the habit of doing things a certain way, and it's helped open minds and eyes to doing things in a different manner. So all of that, I think, helps our bankers focus on our clients. And at the end of the day, that's what we want them focused on. What we're trying to take away is the busy work, automate processes and change workflows. And so if that has helped, I think, level the playing field, I think that's a considerable win for our organization.
Yeah, totally agree. What are some of the learnings that you've taken away from your Salesforce implementation, and how is that changing your path forward?
So a lot of learnings. We're changing who we are internally. And I mentioned this change of workflows and process. We're moving from that traditional to the digital. And in doing so, it's massive change management. So we've had a lot of learnings. In our credit card group, for example, we had one employee whose sole job was dedicated to fraud detection. Now we've automated that with our work with Salesforce. When we look at our mortgage group, so much of these manual processes we have been able to change and improve for our teams. But it wasn't without hesitation and resistance. Even in our card group, we wanted to present credit cards in a way that was meaningful for our clients. And the traditional approach was, hey, Kelly, what card do you want? You know, you choose. Well, we wanted to position our bankers as well as our digital channel as that expert. And so we wanted to ask questions. And that created a lot of issues within the working groups and was about a 4-week pause. And so again, back to the change management drum, we instituted executive steering or advisory committees. We had to ensure that our project management teams were really strong and adept at leading through change. Our message from the top had to be really consistent. And then we had to help people understand the why. And again, nothing that we're doing is something that we're doing to our employees. Rather, everything we're doing is focused on that client experience and meeting our clients how and where and when they want to be met. And so it's just bringing our teams along the journey, and hopefully, like in the case of our employee in cards that was doing all the fraud detection, she's happier and more fulfilled and engaged with having a more meaningful role.
Wow, you have accomplished so much, but I am curious, what's next on your roadmap?
Well, there's a lot, Kelly. You know, we see small business, of course, with all of our learnings from the PPP program. That's natural, so that's in process as we speak. We see this flowing over into consumer very naturally. And then ultimately, we want to tie it all together. And that's where we've dropped the CRM moniker, and we're referencing it as an employee portal. So our aspirational state is role-based. It's if I am logging in every morning and I'm a relationship manager, it's done through a Salesforce platform. It would present my portfolio, any action items that I need to take care of. It could present prospects coming through that, role-based training. So we really see that again as a natural progression for all the work that we've done. And we're excited about that vision, and we're really excited about where we are today and the great work that our teams have done.
Renee,